This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. See, I do a show called AFC North Talk, and one of the things we love to do on AFC North Talk during the summer is talk about where each team's room ranks. And, you know, when it came down to the running back room, I had my spicy takes and my co-host had their spicy takes. And while we were doing that, it made me realize just how under the radar one signing that the Cleveland Browns made is truly going, because one, me personally, I don't think I've ever done an entire dedicated video to this guy, even when he signed. And when you hear other people talk about the Cleveland Browns running back room, it's almost as if he did not exist. But what if I told you the Cleveland Browns had a running back who in their last 312 carries has outgained the likes of Najee Harris and Derrick Henry? What if I told you that that same running back had similar yards per carry numbers, better yards per carry numbers than those two running backs? What if I told you that Foreman is one of the most slept on free agent signings of the year, and maybe the most slept on free agent signing for the Cleveland Browns? Now, a lot of people looked at this signing as the Browns just getting some depth at running back, adding a extra body to the room, and really that's really all that they were trying to accomplish there. And I understand why some people would see this like that, right? Foreman is not somebody that's going to be a household name. You know, ironically, even though the numbers aren't as good as Foreman, the Browns signed somebody like Ezekiel Elliott. I think people will understand the role that that player is going to be in. But since he's a younger player, since he is a less experienced player, since he's a less accomplished player, people don't see it that way. But Foreman has done some pretty impressive stuff. We brought it up here. Foreman in his last 312 carries. So between two teams, and remember, these two teams were dookie, right? He played for the 2022 Carolina Panthers, so the Matt Rule Carolina Panthers. I don't know if the 2023 version is that much worse than the 2022 version, but we know that the 2022 version did not have a great offensive line, and we know that the Chicago Bears last year also did not have a great offensive line. So he has done these numbers that I have on screen that are comparable to Derrick Henry's last 300 plus carries, that are comparable to Najee Harris's last 300 carries, while also in some cases more favorable than their carries, while also playing for worse offensive lines throughout that span. Now, that's usually something that people notice. I think a lot of people remember Foreman when he filled in for Derrick Henry and actually played very well. I believe that was either the pandemic. Was that the pandemic? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was the pandemic, because Derrick Henry came back. He was low-key out of shape. But Foreman, I think that's going to be a big signing for the Cleveland Browns. And the reason I think that's going to be a big signing is he fills a huge gap in the Cleveland Browns run game. And this is the part of the video where I have to talk about what that gap is that he's going to help fill in the Cleveland Browns run game. Now, first thing's obvious, right? Nick Chubb's injury status in the air. Some people think this is going to be a Deshaun Watson 2022 situation where Foreman is going to have to be Jacoby Brissett and hold it down for most of the year, and maybe Nick Chubb comes back for the end of the year. I think that's a bit dramatic. I think Nick Chubb will probably be back within the first 4 weeks of the season. I don't see any reason why we should assume he should miss the first 8 weeks of the season. I have not seen anything that's convincing there. And he is on a normal ACL timeline from November. It was a very tough injury, but he's come back from worse injuries at a quicker time. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is back. We're going to look at the Browns run splits in these three areas. First and 10, how many yards per carry were you getting on the ground on first and 10? We're going to look at short distance to go. So any down, but short distance. So within 4 yards, did you convert first downs in that area with running the ball? And then third and short. Just so we have a basis to kind of judge all of these numbers on, here are the league averages from last year. Last year, all 32 teams averaged about 60%. They averaged to get about 66% of their third and short conversions. They averaged to get about 65% of their short to distance, any down conversions. And on first and 10, the league average was 4.4 yards per carry. Now you're going to want to ask this question. Where were the Cleveland Browns last year? On third and short, they weren't bad. They were at 62%. That's a little bit below average, but still not a terrible number. Short distance to goal, they were pretty good, right? 64%, right around that average number. Here's where they had their biggest problems. First and 10, the Cleveland Browns were averaging 3.5 yards per carry. A whole yard below what the league average is. And we felt that. We felt that bad in Cleveland. We really did. We knew that this team really struggled to get 5 yards on first down. And if you look at a lot of the moves the Cleveland Browns have made over the last few weeks, or not a few weeks, but a few months, they're all kind of oriented in getting guys in the building that can get production on first down, right? You hope Nick Chubb comes back. I think Donta Foreman, we're going to talk about him being a big part of that formula. Jerry Jeudy is a yak guy. That's another guy who could be a big part of that formula. You know you're going to want to incorporate David Njoku into this. And one of the things that Ken Dorsey has done well with his quarterbacks is utilizing them on first down to make sure that even if they have to use their legs, they can get those 5 yards on first down. The Browns do not want to be one of these bad first and 10 teams again this year, because it's not a good place to be in, right? If you look at the top 9 offenses in the NFL, the best 9 teams in getting first downs, those are usually the best offenses in the NFL. The teams that get the most first downs are usually the same teams that are in the top 10 in points, in the top 10 in yards gained as an offense. And all of the teams in the top 9 of first down gained made the playoffs. All the best teams in the NFL. I'm going to read them out right now. The Dallas Cowboys were in the top 9. The San Francisco 49ers were in the top 9 of first downs gained. Buffalo Bills were in the top 9 of first downs gained. The Philadelphia Eagles, the Detroit Lions, the Miami Dolphins, the Baltimore Ravens, the LA Rams, the Kansas City Chiefs. The best teams are really productive on first down. The Browns weren't great on first down. They weren't great on first and 10. And that is where Donta Foreman comes in. Donta Foreman has that 4.4 yards per carry average over the last couple of years on first down. That's important for this team, that he can get decent production on first down. If Nick Chubb's in there, if Nick Chubb's not, because even if Nick Chubb is healthy week 1 and he plays the whole 17-game season with Donta Foreman there, you're still going to have to rely on Donta Foreman to get some of these carries on first down, because Nick Chubb's not going to take every single carry, especially coming back off injury. The biggest problem that the Browns run game had, and the biggest perpetrator of that problem, even though, look, I will get on Jerome Ford when he does stuff that's not productive to helping the team win. I will also point out what he does do to help the team win. But what Jerome Ford was terrible at is all of the stuff we're talking about today. He was a horrible third and short running back. He was a horrible short yardage back. And he was an even worse first and 10 back, right? Jerome Ford, probably somebody you want to use in third and medium sets where he can get out there, run a route, or get out there in some space and take advantage of it. But you really don't want to use Jerome Ford when you're trying to run power or run wide zone, because he's just not that guy. Third and short, Jerome Ford had an abysmal 38 percent conversion percentage. It's bad. Short to distance, Jerome Ford had an abysmal 35% conversion percentage. So he's worse in short to distance any down than he is on third down. And then on 1st and 10, he's one of the worst running backs in the NFL. 3.3 yards per carry. That's awful. It's an awful number, right? I know some people run off the math of, hey, if you add this number up 4 times and it goes to a first down, that's a good yards per carry number. That's not how we do this anymore in the NFL. You got to be at least above 4.1 if you want to be an NFL running back. 3.3 yards per carry is trash in the modern NFL. It's absolute garbage. You cannot do that in any instance. Now, Kareem Hunt helped a lot with the 3rd and short numbers and the short to distance numbers. He was actually really good at that area. The one area where Kareem Hunt was horrible at was 1st and 10. Because if you think Jerome Ford's 3.3 yards per carry is bad on 1st and 10, Kareem Hunt had a 2.4 yard per carry number on 3rd and 10. Not 3rd and 10, 1st and 10. You just cannot continue to be that bad on 1st and 10 and expect to have an offense that's going to stay ahead of the sticks. Another reason why it's important for this specific team to be good on 1st and 10 is Deshaun Watson takes more sacks proportionally than almost any other quarterback in the NFL. Now, while I hope that's something that he cleans up in his game, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm thinking Deshaun Watson is going to become a completely different person the first time he steps on the football field. He's probably going to have some of the same issues he's always had. And him taking a lot of sack yardage has always been a part of him. So imagine if you're in like the difference between taking sack yardage, but you're getting 5 yards on 1st and 10. So a 2nd and 5 and you get knocked back to like 3rd and 8 versus you get 2 yards on 1st and 10. So you at 3rd and 8, then you get sacked. Now you at 3rd and 13. It's just a completely different game. Like it's a completely different area of your play sheet. And that's going to really affect your ability to get to first downs. If you're the Browns, if you're looking at this run game and you want some numbers to kind of keep track of where the Browns should be throughout the season and where their run game should be, I'm going to throw out these 3 splits that you're going to want to watch. You want the Browns to be anywhere on 3rd and short from about 65% to about 72%. If they're in that range, they're really good. They're one of the best teams in the NFL. You want the Browns to be in short to go situations. So 3rd and short, 2nd and short, 1st and short, 4th and short, however it pops up. You want them to be anywhere from 65 to about 68%. If they're in that range, they're one of the better teams in the NFL. Yards per attempt on 1st down in 10. You want them to be at about 4.5. You want them to be about 4.4 yards per carry to about 4.7 yards per carry. If they're doing that consistently on 1st and 10, I promise you the Browns will lead the league or at least be at the top of the league in first downs. That means they'll be at the top of the league in yards gained, which means they'll be in the top of the league in scored points. If this team does that, they will be a top 10 offense if they get those numbers right in the run game. We all know what Nick Chubb's going to be once he gets back. Nick Chubb has incredible splits here. He's 64% on 3rd and short. He's 62% on short to goal situations, and he has a 5 yard per carry average on 1st and 10. We know who Nick Chubb is. And if Nick Chubb gets back, he gets back to form like we all hope and expect him to, then you just need other guys to kind of help carry that weight. And Donta Foreman, while his numbers aren't Nick Chubb like, they're still pretty good. He averages over the last couple of years 4.4 yards per carry on 1st and 10. His short to go number 61. Not a great number, but still a good number. In 3rd and short, about 58%. Which again, not a great number, but still a pretty good number. He can help fill the gaps, and the Browns have been really good at finding ways to be pretty good at 3rd and short, as we saw last year. Despite the fact that they had an abysmal run game, they were still pretty good at that third and short stuff. I think having Donta Foreman there will increase that number, and the Browns will be able to hit some of these splits. But that's my thought on Donta Foreman. That's why I think he's going to be a really important piece to this Cleveland Browns team. You know, you're going to need somebody who can be a steady hand in that running back room to make sure you can put all the pieces in place. You want to make sure Nick Chubb isn't overextending himself and doing things that he's not comfortable doing. You want to make sure that Jerome Ford can be the best version of himself. And I think the best version of himself is somebody who's not asked to overextend himself as a feature back. And the glue that puts that room together, the glue that allows all of that to happen, is Donta Foreman, because he's the one guy in that room. No offense to Pierre Strong, but he's the one guy in that room who has showed that he can step in and be a really serviceable every down back for a football team that needs one in a pinch. And if he can continue to put up the kind of numbers that he's put up over the last couple of years, the kind of numbers that he put up in replacement of Derrick Henry for the Tennessee Titans, then that's going to be a huge signing. And we're going to be coming here talking about it in the middle of the season, talking about what a gem Donta Foreman was to find for this football team. But that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.